continue on DJ Football. He is Daniel Jeremiah. I am Ryan Brown. It is presented by MyBookie.ag. Code next round for that sign-on bonus of 110% when you make your initial deposit there at MyBookie.ag. MyBookie.ag code next round. Do you know anybody that's got a good offense in the NFL?
Oh, a little foreshadowing there.
Yeah, we went
good.
to wardrobe. We went to wardrobe. Oh, they're not just pretty good, DJ. This statistically is the best offensive performance through 5 weeks in NFL history, passing the greatest show on turf. Statistics don't win you Super Bowls, but that's a pretty darn good statistic to have if you want to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, usually you drop a 70 piece in the first 5 games. You're gonna be up there with some records. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. We're going to talk about the offenses that perhaps could challenge Miami for the best offense in the NFL. But let's stop quickly and talk about, what Miami is doing so well. Obviously, they have focused on speed. There are very few teams in the history of the NFL that have had a faster combination of players like Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Devin Achane, and Raheem Mostert, all guys that could probably be on track teams somewhere.
It's a 4x1 team. It is. It's a legitimate 4x1 team. And I love the adjustment that was made with the roster in terms of, okay, we've seen now early on with Waddle coming in with Tyreek Hill, how teams play us. We know how dynamic and explosive we are. Now we know what it looks like. So we would always say, man, if you have a good running game, if you have a power running game, man, you want to get a flyer on the outside, because then when you want to be able to pay off the looks you're going to get because of your run game, you want to pay that off with explosive chunk plays down the field. So that run game, boom, sets up. Now we've got speed. It works hand in glove. They've reversed it. They've said, okay, we know the looks we're going to get because of our pass game. So we're going to get so much shell coverage, so many guys in the parking lot, and we're going to see so many light boxes. Well, why would we want 3, 4, 5, 8, 10-yard runs? Let's make them pay for playing that look. And so now we get track stars in the backfield. So they've reverse engineered it. They've figured out a way to get explosives through the run game because of people being scared of their pass game. It's like the opposite of the way football's been forever.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about. Like Achane is a guy that is averaging somewhere, it's like 12.3 yards per carry, something
double
insane
digit.
like that.
Yeah,
it's double-digit yards per carry, and you're like, well, yeah, that's easy to do when you only touch it 3 or 4 times a game, and that's not the case. They are running him a lot, and he's still got that average. It's just you just do not see this out of running back anymore in the NFL.
It's speed and space, though. I was using the analogy of, man, it'd be like you go to the gym and you're going to play 5-on-5 or what have you, and then all of a sudden only 8 guys show up. So you're like, okay, well, let's pick teams. Well, wait a second, you got 5 guys, we only have 3. Like, how is this fair? Like, that's what it is for this offensive line. I mean, there was they've got a hat on a hat. They've got a hat on a hat, and they've got a couple hats left over. There's nobody up there. So they're going to have big gaps and big creases. It is a speed and space game. If you see it at the high school level, the college level, the NFL level, that is it. That's what this game has turned into. It is speed and space, and the speed creates the space, and they've got speed everywhere. So now, I mean, again, it used to be, I'd go and say, I want to watch all the explosive passes, when you watch the Dolphins. Now it takes you just as long to watch all the explosive runs.
How does Chase Claypool fit into this? Obviously, obviously he's got to get an attitude that's better than what Chicago saw. That's first of all.
Yeah, but again, I mean, I'm curious to see if he's basically, kind of like just jumbo, if he's a small tight end or jumbo receiver, however they're going to deploy him and use him. I would imagine, he's somebody that ran in the 4.4, is a big dude. I could see them experiment and saying, hey, we're just going to try and, make this conversion. It was talked about when he was coming out of college. Like, is this guy going to grow into a tight end?
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, if you're trying to assemble the fastest team on planet Earth, and now all of a sudden you've got, a 4.42 tight end to go along with all the speed we just talked about, maybe that's the next step for him.
But, I mean, immediately he does not play in front of Braxton Berrios, right? Braxton Berrios has played very well for this team.
I'd put a TE next to his name and see if teams treat him as such. I mean, yeah, I would. To me, that's what I would do. That's your advantage, is using him as your tight end.
I mean, that's one thing that this offense does not have. Durham Smythe is a nice player, but he's
a blocker.
Yeah. I mean, they've thrown to him some. Mike Gesicki wasn't a blocker, which is why he is now in New England and not part of that team anymore. So, I mean, they really do not have a tight end that they feature much at all.
Yeah, that's why I'm curious to see what that role is. The other thing is, this could be a little bit a long-term play in that we talk about speed and space. Well, you get into the postseason, that does shrink a little bit. You're playing the best teams every week. It's a different environment. You don't, and we saw it even with Kansas City, you don't tend to get as many wide open dudes as you're able to generate in the regular season. It's heightened focus. A million reasons why we could explain that.
Okay.
So size and physicality and contested catches, I don't know that that's really on this team right now. You just mentioned Berrios to go along with Tyreek as well as Waddle. None of those guys are real big play above the rim type guys. So it does give them a little of that element that they might not have.
All right. So we'll talk about the offenses. If Miami is number one, if Miami is number one, who can compete with them offensively? MyBookie.ag brings you the show. MyBookie.ag brings you DJ football. Code next round when you sign on there at MyBookie.ag. And you get that sign-on bonus, 110%. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with free money. 110% sign-on bonus, your initial deposit at MyBookie.ag. Code next round. MyBookie.ag. Get that sign-on bonus when you use code next round. Curious about the games you can play there? Get some help from Lance Taylor. Lance'sLock.com has been red hot. Up double-digit units in football, NFL, college, even Major League Baseball postseason. But boy, in football, up double-digit units on the year so far. You can get the plays with daily packages, also weekly packages, monthly packages, full season packages, all starting for less than $100 at lanceslock.com. Take those plays to mybookie.ag and use code next round. All right, assuming the Dolphins are number one, give me some offenses that can approach this. Who would you say is the next best offense overall in the NFL?
Well, I'm going to go out of order here because I'm going to say if this is what's shocking to me. I mean, I put this list down and was going through it and how they've looked this year. If I'd have told you before the year that Kansas City was the fourth best offense in the league, you look like a crazy, like Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Super Bowl champs. Like, there's no way they're the best offense in the league. I really think right now, looking at it objectively, they're the fourth best. So I would go Miami number one. Right. I would go San Francisco number two, with kind of that that old Stanford phrase. What was it? Intellectual brutality. They're physical and smart, and they're diverse and creative. I mean, they're a nightmare.
Yeah, it feels like San Francisco matches physicality and speed more so than Miami does. Miami can be physical. I think Mostert's
offensive line wise though, that's not close.
No, especially with Terran Armstead hurt for Miami and on the IR right now. But yeah, absolutely. The match of physicality and speed, probably you find that more in San Francisco than anywhere.
Yeah, and again, why Miami over San Francisco is the Tyreek's just the cheat code. Like, you can look at it and say, I would say 1 through 11, I would rather have San Francisco's offense maybe than Miami's. The guy's he just changes everything. There's no, it's not fair. So I would go Miami 1. I would go San Francisco 2. I would actually go Philadelphia 3, just ahead of Kansas City. And to me, Jalen Hurts is another version of a cheat code because there's no such thing as 1st and 10. It's 1st and 9. So they're the only team in the league that only has to get 9 yards to get a first down every possession, because if you're 1 yard short, they're going to do that stupid little sneak and they're going to get it every single time.
Works all the time. Yep.
It's a huge advantage. But they are usually, you have a young quarterback, and we'll talk about the fact, man, you can use your legs early on. We say it with Anthony Richardson, right? Use your legs early on, and then we'll develop you into the point where now you're a passer, and we don't run as much, and we kind of grow and evolve. We've seen it with Lamar Jackson, right? Jalen Hurts has now evolved as a passer to be one of the best in the league, and they're still running quarterback power and quarterback draws and like all these short yard sneaks. Like, they're literally having their cake and eating it too.
Right.
And they're the only team in the league that's using a quarterback like they're using Jalen Hurts. So that they're a nightmare to deal with. Kansas City's at 4. Mahomes colors outside the lines better than everybody else. We can have the conversation about, okay, on time, in the pocket. You look at all these great quarterbacks. Obviously, Tua is playing great. Josh Allen, Herbert, can do his thing. You can go with Burrow when he's right. You can have debates. How do you stack those guys? Mahomes, is he 1? Is he 2? Like, you can have some conversation, but on the second play, on creativity and coloring outside the lines, the gap between him, Ryan, everybody else is ridiculous. And that's why it doesn't matter who kind of comes and goes. around him. So they would be 4. And then I actually, I'm going to go back to the NFC. I'm going to go Detroit as my number 5. And again, they're kind of like, as we've discussed before in our conversations, they are very similar to San Francisco and how they're built, how they're constructed, the creativity, the brutality, all those things together.
And they get Jameson Williams back, coming off the injury and the suspension. I mean, he has missed a lot of time for them, but just a legit deep threat with blazing speed will only make that offense better.
They have a chance, if they can get him going, to be kind of a nice mix of Miami and San Francisco. They could be a little faster than San Francisco, not quite as fast as Miami. They're physical, maybe not as physical as San Francisco, but they have elements of that. This is the one where if you're saying we can rank them 1 to 5, but the stock you'd want to buy for the upside, it would be Detroit.
It is DJ Football. It is presented each week by mybookie.ag. Don't forget code next round when you sign on to mybookie.ag. They give you 110% of that sign-on deposit as a bonus. That is free money for you. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with mybookie.ag. Code next round.